Okay. All right. Good evening once again, and you're all welcome. I think we'll just want to zoom in into action and start because we are a little behind time. You are all welcome once again. I want us to do a quick introduction, right? So you just mention your name to us, except the speakers. You mention your name and your department or where you're joining from. Quickly, let's just do that. So I'll start with the so kindly unmute yourself and tell us your name, where you're joining from.
Hi,
Hi,
good
Dila, right?
evening.
Good
Yes,
evening.
Dila. Yes, my name is Dila Jadi, with Philanthropy Ghana, and I'm joining from Ghana. I'm sorry, I joined late, so I don't know if that is what you
No
requested
problem.
me.
That
Yes.
that that's that's exactly what I was asking. You're most welcome.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so I'll move to Pakwesi.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Papi Siabon Jr. I am with Philanthropy Ghana and I work at the programs unit as a programs associate. I'm in Ghana as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pakwesi. So I'll move to Janice.
Hello, everyone. My name is Janice Ampon, and I'm tuning in from Accra, Ghana. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's have Magnus.
All right. Good day, everyone. Here is evening. My name is Igwe Magnus from Nigeria, Ebonyi State in particular. Thank you.
So let's hear from Marty, then we can proceed. So Marty, can we hear from you?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Grace Sawyonko.
Okay.
From Ghana.
All right. You're most welcome. So without wasting much time, I think we will just zoom into the session as and when the other joins because we might have a large participant. So now we'll hold on with the introduction. But before then, I want to acknowledge them. So if we can hear a word from you before we proceed, we'll be glad.
Hello. Yeah, thank you, Philanthropy Ghana and all ecosystem partners. Yeah, greetings from Geneva. I'm happy to join the session. Thank you.
Hello, Doc. Please, are you done speaking?
Yes, I just said hello from everyone and greetings from Geneva. I'm happy and I'm so excited to see the speakers today ready to engage. Yeah, all the best, everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Doc. So we are going to dive straight into the business of the day. I am Joanna Owusu-Diodu, and I'm the Programs Director at Philanthropy Ghana. So for tonight's webinar, right, someone will ask, why this webinar? So the Giving webinar is a series. It's a monthly series we do. And we are doing this as we prepare for our upcoming Philanthropy Week. So today's theme we are working with is Beyond Donor Dependence, Building Ghana Through Local Giving and Social Investments. And we are glad and we are fortunate to have some very mighty and wonderful speakers to take us through these sessions. So we are going to try as much as possible to make this session interactive, and we are going to learn a lot from them, right? So after the session, there will be a time for question and answer. So as and when you have a question that comes up, please put it down, and when the time is up, we are going to give you the opportunity to speak up. Right. So the purpose of this webinar is to promote awareness of the role of local philanthropy in national development. And we are also seeking to explore innovative models of social investment and resource mobilization. We also seek to inspire greater citizen participation into giving and community development, and also encourage collaboration among stakeholders within Ghana philanthropic ecosystem. So without wasting much time, we have our speakers ready for us, and I want to introduce them all and talk a little bit about their background. And I want them to also give us their background. I want them to do their self-introduction so that we can know more about them from their own perspective, right? So on call with us, we have Mr. Charles Kwejo Van Dyke. So he's a development practitioner, an author, and a podcaster with extensive experience in civil society, strengthening system exchange, and local-led development. We also have Mr. Christian. So we have Mr. Christian Ilong also with us. He also has 11 years of experience as a nonprofit leader and researcher, and he has 9 years in resource mobilization and innovative financial models for CSO. We'll delve deeper into them as they introduce themselves. And we also have Miss Oswell with us too. And she is a director of programs for Ubuntu Giving Alliance. So without wasting much time, I'll just like to open the floor I'll start with Mr. Charles to just tell us a little bit about his background, and we proceed with it. Mr. Charles, can we hear from you?
Thanks so much, Joanna, and thanks to Philanthropy Ghana and your partners for inviting me today. I'm really grateful. Yeah, I believe you've actually highlighted on my background. I've worked in the nonprofit space for almost 20 years. My work has been on civil society or nonprofit strengthening. A lot of the work I do has been around looking at the systems, the ecosystem broadly. So issues on resource mobilization, financial sustainability, philanthropy, of course, in more recent times, issues on locally led development, in shifting power, etc. So a lot of the work I do is from an ecosystems perspective. And yes, I'm also a podcast. I host a podcast called Alternative Convos. And I'm also an author. I recently authored a book on which looks at operating models. So reimagining our operating models as nonprofits. And the book is called The Engine Behind the Mission. So this is just a bit about who I am. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure having you here with us. We are hoping to learn more from your experience as well. So, Mr. Christian, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Joanna. Please, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, please. We can.
Okay, so thank you, and it's always a joy being here. And I would like to first thank Philanthropy Ghana for this unique opportunity of sharing the experiences that we have around local giving and social investment. It's a pleasure meeting Charles again. And concerning my background, I basically was active or I'm active in the area of African philanthropy as a researcher in the area of knowledge management and also as a practitioner, organizing trainings on local fundraising, especially using AI. We have a program that we are running known as Fundraising with AI, where we basically empower African CSO to be more effective and efficient in using AI for resource mobilization purposes. I've also published some key work around local giving in Africa, decolonizing aid, indigenous local systems of giving, and also around community philanthropy and overcoming development aid. So it's always a pleasure to be part of any conversation that aims at sharing knowledge and ensuring that we are able of advancing the conversation towards a continent that will be more resilient and self-sufficient. Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you with us, and we are much grateful. So I'll move on to Miss Oswell, please.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Oswell Hooper. I am also a development practitioner and a philanthropist, I would say. I have been doing philanthropy practically for over 5 years now. My work mainly revolves around philanthropy, volunteerism, SRHR, as well as young people, and I'm glad to be part of the team here. Thank you.
Yeah, we are also privileged to have you here. Thank you so much. I believe today we will be fully.
Quickly, my boss is on the call as well. So I would
Okay.
just like to say hello to him. Hi, Charles. This is me.
Shout outs to Mr. Charles. Okay. I believe we are going to have a powerful session. So we are going to just dive straight into a few questions we will have for you to deliberate on it as we also learn from us. So for my participants, just grab your pen, grab your diaries, and be ready to learn more about the philanthropy space, how to move from donor funding and also to become self-sufficient as we move forward, right? So my first question, I'll just direct the questions to individuals, but if you have an add-ons, you can also come in to also share your view. So you want to first understand the landscape of the whole philanthropy space. So to Mr. Christian, I want you to take this question, right? So, what is the current state, since you've been in the philanthropy space and also a researcher, what's the current stage of local philanthropy and social investments in Ghana? And what are some of the existing opportunities for expanding local resource mobilization?
Okay, thank you so much for this. So I think there are five key elements that I can share regarding this as to where we are. The first one is that there is an increasing awareness about the need of mobilizing resources locally across the development sector, across Africa, and especially in the context of the reduction of official development assistance by 23%. Many more CSO are getting to realize that it's no longer an option. Mobilizing resources locally is a necessity. It is a must, not just for, if we need or if we have to, but it is now a matter of you should, because resources are critical for CSO to thrive, and many are facing that need of, engaging partners, engaging their constituency, changing the way they were perceiving them, and mobilizing resources more and more locally. So there is that increased awareness of shifting from how development work was being done previously to now think as how do we reimagine partnership, how do we reimagine fundraising, how do we reimagine resource mobilization. So that's the first element. The second element also is that there is also more and more evidence that has been developed around the issue of local giving. They are Giving Tuesday, the global giving campaigns, and many other like Waxy also. And I know the Aga Khan Development Foundation have been bringing up a lot of evidences that support, the fact that local giving works. As I'm speaking, I also know of the Global Community Philanthropy Foundation, GCDF, yes, Global Community Philanthropy Foundation, which has also been doing a lot of research, bringing more and more evidences that demonstrate effectively that local giving is the way. Social investment has potential, and the organizations that have been experimenting it are gradually coming with evidence that demonstrate that it's possible to diversify and to have a strong base, a strong, space of your resources that are coming from local partners or resources that are not depending on donor or foreign grants. A third element that is also observable in the practice is that the enabling environment has been not that quickly, but there are some little improvement in the area of giving systems. For example, you realize that now it's more easier, Of course, it's not perfect, but the ability of sending resources across Africa has been slightly improved. Recently, through the banks, there is an inter-African transfer system that has been integrated. I believe now from Ghana, it's possible for you to send money to someone who is in Nigeria or in Togo using your mobile money, something that was not possible before, which means that, trans-border payment, trans-border giving, supporting local development initiative is a little bit faster. One of the elements that is being expected now at the level of the enabling environment is to have policy that are going to make, informal giving more recognizable and more, celebrated, A fourth element that has been, characterizing social investment or local giving in Ghana also is recently there is a lot more conversation around reparations, around, like returning, So there is a lot of focus on diaspora giving than before. So a lot of diasporic communities are more and more investing, back to the countries that they identify as their sources. So if we take the case for Ghana, the level of investment from the diaspora to Ghana has been significantly increased over the recent years. We see more and more diasporic communities from the US, from UK, from Brazil, from Nicaragua, Costa Rica, coming back to Ghana and other African countries, but mostly Ghana, purchasing land, real estate, and pouring resources locally. You also see a lot of people who are outside bringing resources locally. A fifth key element that I also want to share is at the level of the technology, right? Technology today has made it much more easier, to channel giving. We have more platform to facilitate giving than before. In Ghana here, Pen Plus Byte has a platform that enables, organizing digital fundraising campaign. So if you are in Ghana, you would like to mobilize resources. I think it's Senewo Wombi. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing well, but it has, a name in local dialect, right? So Pen Plus Byte has such platform. We also have Chango, which is Kenya-based, but they have recently, I think last year, been legally recognized by the Bank of Ghana. They have a platform where it's also possible for you to organize, a giving campaign where people can give through their mobile money, which is far much easier than previously. I remember back then in the years 2015, 2017, when you had to organize a digital fundraising activity, you had to use, GoFundMe, which is Western based. And usually withdrawing the resources were a bit challenging or time consuming, which was making it difficult. But now technology has made it so much easier. AI also today can help you craft a crowdfunding campaign with far much quality than before. So this and many other things are some of the things that we observe, and I'm sure that we'll be able to dive deeper. And I believe my dear Charles will be able to bring more light on these elements. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. So, Mr. Charles, if yes, please you can add a bit to it before we move.
Yeah, so just to take the angle of just trying to remind ourselves that when it comes to generosity, um, in fact, it's one of our greatest strengths as a country. When you look at every single day, people contribute to funerals, church buildings, mosques, school fees, health emergencies, community projects. You can see what's happening now with the flooding and previous humanitarian efforts. People contribute. We come together during difficult times. We as neighbors come together to help each other. So the whole idea of giving is not new to us as Ghanaians. I believe it's part of our identity. Um, However, I think we need to know the difference between being generous and then building sustainable development systems, right? Because right now, I think the challenge, and I believe Christian talked a bit about this, that most of our giving remains informal, right? It responds to immediate needs rather than long-term change, right? So we tend to support individuals instead of probably investing in institutions that are doing social impact work. We often also tend to respond to crisis instead of preventing them, right? So you'll notice that, for example, we are very willing to contribute when someone falls sick, but we are not necessarily willing to invest in maybe a community health systems that will reduce the illness in the first place. So for me, those are different conversations that we need to have, looking at the state of philanthropy or social investment in Ghana. So I think so. Perhaps just to add to what Christian is saying, our biggest opportunity, I believe, in Ghana is not teaching Ghanaians how to give. Basically, I think it's helping us to channel our generosity more strategically. And I think that's where the challenge is. So even now, the government, this current government is thinking about this on how to streamline giving in a more formal sense. And they are going through a process of developing a national philanthropy policy so that they could propose the architecture, they could propose the regulatory framework to enable us to channel our informal giving into a much more structured, systematic, and impactful kind of support for our communities. So I'll just add that. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Very helpful. Thank you so much. So
Yeah,
I want us to move to the next. Okay,
Joanna, I wanted to add this quickly.
please go ahead.
Based on what the two speakers have just mentioned,
Shared.
it is clear that the and the global giving report 2024 highlights on this trend and features three African countries among the top 10 most generous countries globally, with Kenya ranked second and then the Gambia fourth, as well as Nigeria fifth. So giving is not new to, I'd say, the African community. It is just as though, um, like Charles mentioned, we do not give to we do not give to prevent situations to happen. We only give when situations happen, and so it makes it difficult to structure the kind of giving that we do locally. And I also wanted to add that Christian mentioned earlier that we are currently aware that the funding in the development space is dwindling, and obviously, for the development space practitioners to even be aware that this is what is happening is the first step. If we pretend we do not know that funding is dwindling and we act as if we are going to expect it every time, we'll be here and this is a joke we say internally. We'll all be out of jobs because whoever is bringing us the money will not bring it any longer, and then we'll be unable to pay ourselves and to do the work that we claim we love to do. The evidence is clear, and we as Africans or we as Ghanaians should be able to know that there is so much resources in our communities that if we are not able to identify it and capitalize on it to champion our own development, the stories of the work we do as development practitioners will take a different toll in the next few years. Over.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's a lot of insights this evening we are receiving from our speakers. At this point, we know that local fundraising is a must to all of us in this space, and it's something we have to just be intentional about it. So that will move me into my next question. So moving beyond donor dependency, right? We are trying to move beyond that. How can Ghana reduce its reliance on external funding for development initiatives? So let's bring it down to Ghana. What are some of the ways or strategies? I know Mr. Christian mentioned a few, but I think we can touch on other relevant external funding, or how we're going to reduce the external funding in the development initiatives. So Mr. Charles
Okay.
can go ahead with this, yeah. If
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Joanna. It's interesting, this question, because I think it's the most popular question many organizations are asking today, even at an organizational level, right? Because of the funding situation that we are all aware of. So we know that for many decades, many of the development initiatives have depended heavily on, of course, international aid. And I'm saying that still international partnerships remain quite valuable, right? And I don't think we should reject them. But we all know that dependence has created a lot of vulnerability within our organizations, but even within the broader ecosystem, development ecosystem in Ghana and in many of our African countries, right? We've seen situations where our traditional donors, when their priorities change, it affects the work that we do, right? We've seen a situation where when funding declines, most of our activities have to be stopped or they slow down, or we have to reduce their scope, right? And you've seen that those of us who have been in this space for a while, we've seen the amount of time we spend writing proposals than actually solving problems. Yeah, right. So I often describe this when I'm talking to my colleagues that we've actually moved from mission-driven work to donor-driven work, right? And this situation, unfortunately, is forcing us to reverse that trend, right? And I don't think that the goal should be simply to replace international funding. I think the goal should be to rebalance our financing, right? So I believe that development should be financed by those who have the greatest stake in their success. So the communities, our businesses, our governments, citizens, the diaspora, our own philanthropists, right? Our social or impact investors, right? And one of the things that we've been talking about a lot in this space is that for the need for those of us who are doing social impact work, for the need for organizations to diversify their income, right? And there are options, and Christian has talked about some. Uh, Alternative financing. So, for example, some may be able to develop social enterprises, right? And that depends a lot on the way they are set up. Mostly, we see that with service provision, NGOs or CSOs, it's much easier because with a social enterprise, you must be able to create value through delivering a service or selling a product and then getting income from that and reinvesting it into the social good or the into your work, development work. Others decide that look, the way we are structured, I think we'll better have a better chance, pursuing an endowment fund, right? That is trying to mobilize funding to be able to invest that money, maybe through reserves or through other forms, so that you focus on the interest that comes from the principal, and then you leverage on that interest to do the work that you are doing. But of course, endowment funds mean you have to have a certain capacity, and you also have to have a certain partners who are willing to invest in growing that principal or in growing that money or that funding, or you have to have ways of getting unrestricted funding to be able to build that endowment. And not all organizations can do that because not all organizations receive unrestricted funding or have the capacity to attract unrestricted funding, right? Then there's membership contribution. So these are examples. Others are also generating income through services, providing services or even knowledge products, right? So I don't believe there's a single solution. It depends on what your organization does. It depends on how your organization historically has been set up and the work that it does. And it depends, but definitely at this point in time, right, for us to survive and even go beyond survival to thrive, right, we can no more depend on external funding, right? And funny enough, not just on our level as CSOs, even our government recognizes this. And this current government, the president speaks a lot about this, about domestic resource mobilization, right? And the truth is, it's very important because our resilience in the long term will come from how diverse we become in terms of our funding pool. And I want to give an analogy, right? Back in the days, just before USAID did what USAID did, or before Trump did what Trump did, right? When you see some of the bigger US INGOs with their funding portfolio, you would have been excited and maybe sometimes envious because they'll tell you that they have a budget of $100 million. But what they didn't tell you that all that money actually comes from two major sources. One is USAID and the other is the US government. And by the way, what they didn't tell you is that it's actually not two major sources. It's one, because the US government is USAID, right? And so what happened? Even though they had 100 million, when that tap closed, what happened to their sustainability, right? You who has maybe 2 million, let's say dollars for argument, but you have 4 or 5 different sources, not just from bilaterals, but also from foundations. You thought you were smaller and you were actually envying the bigger organization, but you have survived, right? And in some instances, you're even growing. And so who is more sustainable? So is it about the quantum of money that you have, or it's about your base? To what extent you have been able to diversify to make sure that you are being supported from different sources, and that's something we can all think about, right? And so for me, back in the days, it was nice to to diversify. Now is a must, not just not just to because you want to thrive, but it's a must for you to do this to survive. So I thought I'll share that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think that's very insightful. Now it's a must for us to now look into self-development, self-reliance, and also generating our own funds internally. Right? So I'll move to the second question. So Mr. Christian can touch on that. So what are some of the structures or systems that are needed to support locally financed development?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, please. So I think there are many systems, but I'm going to touch let's say 5 key one. The first one is at the level of the mindset, right? The mindset is a backbone, is a foundation. Many NGO, many CSO are still not fully conscious that things have changed. Many, though the conversations are going on, like they don't want to really accept that, they have now entered into a new era, that the big money that used to come through donors are no longer going to be as usual. So that mindset shift is a very big requirement, because everything we do stems from how we think. For those who are familiar with the Bible, it says that as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. So anything that we still believe or perceive in our mind will always reflect in how we operate. And that mindset shift is very important. And I believe there are 3 key areas that it could be done. Recently at the Ghana Civil Society Forum that was organized just recently, conversation around that topic were raised. And one of the area where the mindset shift could be done, from what I've observed so far, are at 3 levels. Number one, to move from the grant mindset of expecting big cash to come to an investment mindset. Investment mindset will require CSO to start thinking more in terms of being business minded, in terms of thinking, how do I maximize the use of the resources that are available? How do I ensure that, the citizens, the community who are bringing those resources are, involved either in the design, but also in the implementation and reporting of those initiatives. A second area of shift is at the level of the operations, right? To move from focusing on project-based activity to building institutions, building systems, right? Because a project is temporal, but an institution will always remain, which means that it could sometimes require CSO to be bold and not to go into projects that do not benefit, the institution as a whole. I remember in the month of May, together with my team, we got an opportunity where they were only focusing on the project that they wanted the grantee to do, but they were not reserving any resources for the institution. And together with my team, we decided not to go into that, because This shows a donor that is still having the old mindset that has not been renewed, right? And continuing to focus on projects, will limit your time and your ability to focus on the institution, in terms of building the institution as a own. A third area of shift, which I believe is to start moving from donor accountability to citizen accountability. And obviously, when resources are raised locally, that shift happens organically because the people you take money from, you will naturally be more accountable to them. The reason why there has been a greater dependency on donor accountability was because money basically come mostly from there. A second area where I think the structures are needed, aside the aspect of mindset shift is at the level of the systems, right? We believe that it's important to build more community foundations, right? Community philanthropy. How do we organize local giving at the community level in a more effective way? How do we ensure that there are platforms and systems that have already been proven to work? How do we systematize? How do we integrate it, across the system? If we take the case, for example, for SUSU, many are familiar with the SUSU systems. You see more and more people, engaging into that now. How do we take it and make it a broader culture through the community foundation model? A third element is giving incentive, right? In many countries, like in the UK, when there's an incentive to give, businesses, citizens will be willing to do it more often. So we believe that if in Ghana business incentives are stronger, a part of corporate social responsibility could be taken and delegated towards that. Still on the incentive, I also see tax reform, right? We all know that many governments are able to generate, develop like public financing through taxes. How can we also ensure that some of the taxes that are being collected from businesses are also channeled to relevant and impact-driven organizations who are having a demonstrated impact in the local community? Because as we know, the social work complement the public work that is being done by government. So which means that if government is collecting taxes for their own work, we can also channel some of it, to CSO. And there have been conversation at the level of Social Enterprise Ghana around, pension fund. How do we ensure that we leverage more on pension fund for local giving? Another incentive would be at the level of payroll giving. I remember when I was at WAXI some years back, we used to have conversations around how do you as an NGO encourage your staff to give towards the work that you do, and in my team, that's something that we have been able to do by the grace of God, because I told them, hey, listen, you can't claim you believe in what we are doing. You expect people from outside to give, and you are here, you are not giving. It means there's a problem somewhere. If you believe in the mission, your money should show it, because where the treasure of a man is, his heart also shall be there. So if you believe in the work that Muna Karachi does, you should bring your own money. So there are some projects that we do, and I will let them know that this one, we don't have to touch the company resources. Bring your own money on the table, because as you put your money inside, you'll be more and more committed, right? A fourth element I believe is key is to have a corporate philanthropy system, right? How do we institutionalize giving, in our society, and more specifically with corporate partners? And finally, I mentioned it initially, was at the level of diaspora giving. There is so much money that comes from the diaspora, and statistics actually prove that the money that comes from the diaspora is twice official development aid, which means that it's in the hundreds of billions. So the money that the diasporan Africa are sending back to Africa for different initiatives, whether for family reason or social causes, right, is twice the amount that we are receiving through aid, which means that if those resources are being channeled more effectively, we'll be able to do so much more. Do you realize, or do you know that the taxes, like the sending fee that are collected by foreign financial institutions on the money that comes through African, are in the hundreds of millions? Just imagine it. They usually take about 7 to 10% of every pesewa that is being sent from Europe or US or America to Africa. Just think if there were conversations, negotiations, and reforms that were made to reduce that percentage that those banking institutions are charging so that more of the real money will actually land into Africa. And I know there are institutions that have been established recently. I was discussing with one of them recently. He has a platform that basically enable people in the diaspora to send money to Africa with less charges, right? And they have various collection points across the continent. So such reforms are very, very, very much needed. And finally, an element that my former boss, Nana Afadzinu, like to emphasize is to have system to monitor or to measure giving. I think my colleague Charles was sharing that, there is a lot of giving that happens in Africa, but it is not measured effectively. It is true that we have Charity Aid Foundation. They usually do a general scope of, local giving in Africa. And the last one that they did in 2025 indicated that in Ghana, Ghanaians give at least 2.19% of their income. And generally, it has also been proven that most of the Ghanaians in general, right, 92% are giving at least money, which means that there is already a strong culture of giving. Now, this is what we can document officially. What about the informal giving that happens and that cannot be effectively monitored? If we give more attention to monitor, to evaluate, to celebrate giving, to reward givers, that culture is going to be widespread. And we are going to see a very strong environment that will be able to ensure that foreign aid will be still there, but not as a pillar, as a complementary support, right, to development financing. We'll be able to move from funding to financing development because funding is short-term, funding is project-based, but financing is more long-term, it's more holistic, it's more systematic, and it has greater outcome, greater impact, and greater ownership, accountability, and dignity for the people who are doing it. Yes, so that's basically what I can say for now concerning how to restructure the environment. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. This is a lot of information we are soaking in. I like the mindset shift. I think when it comes to philanthropy, donor funding, and finance, it all starts with the mindset, right? Until we are able to change our mindsets, we will go ahead and um we'll go ahead and still want to be focused or be dependent on foreign aid. So once we are able to change our mindset, even from the grassroots, then we can build on to strengthening local philanthropy and local funding. All right, so we'll move to the next question. So I want us to bring it back to the youth, where we know that the youth is the major, like we have the higher number of population, right? And the future generation. So I want to know, what role can the youth play in strengthening philanthropy and social investment? So I want well to pick that. What role can the youth play in strengthening philanthropy and social investment?
Yeah, so I would say mainly it's evidence. Young people should be able to see what elderly people who are giving out or giving of their resources, what their resources are being used for. If there is no evidence to prove that ABCD is being used for this amount of money that was received from this group of people or from this individual, it wouldn't even motivate them to also give. And there is this saying that goes like evidence is the tool to ask for more. And so if you do not have the evidence to prove that I have been able to do this and you can trust me with that, and then it will be difficult to even bring other people on board. And I think locally people are doing a lot in our community, at the community level and even at the um, regional level. It's also about how people sell the things they do to the general public. Sometimes people are in their small corner doing their small charity work, for the good of the community, and it ends there. It doesn't even come to the media, or people around may not even know. And that is where I come in, because I have been doing philanthropy work for a little over 5 years now. It was just fun doing it because I have a community that supports what I do. And so it was just exciting to know that at this point in time, I'm going to take 20 CD, 30 CD from all my friends, and then take them to take the money to get school supplies for a particular school in a particular community. And even though the feedback is good and everything, it really doesn't. I think it hasn't moved me to do it on a larger scale. I just feel like in my small way, this is what I can do to um, this is what I can do to support the community in which I grew up, or the community I am familiar with, or the community that I know the people there are in need of specific things. And so I go all out with my team to support. And so for me, I think that is evidence enough. If young people in those communities know that, oh, this person is from this community and is being able to, of course, I may not be identified as a young person per the category you are referring to. But what I'm trying to say is that if they feel, or if they know that this is what you can do when you have resources to give to a community, or you have a cause to champion in a community, it will be a motivation to them to also start in their small way. I quite remember for what I do, we added a section where we indicated that it shouldn't only be brilliant but needy students, but also learners who are able to support the school willingly on task or chores. And that is volunteering, and that is them giving what they have at that time to support a good cause in the school. So you do not necessarily have to be the smartest or the brightest, but if you are able to support the school do ABCD for for the good of the school, then you are eligible to be part of the people that um, um, will be supported with those school supplies. I'd also want to say that accountability is key. If you are unable to account to those people who are supporting you, it will be difficult for you to ask for more, and so your work will come to a standstill. If you're a young person and somebody trusts you with 5 CDs, that use it to do ABCD, and you cannot account for it to the people that gave you that money, it will be difficult for you to go back to them again. And so if the older people um, are proving that they can account for whatever has been given to them, the younger ones would also feel the need to do same when it gets to their turn, or when they are in similar position. And so that is something that you shouldn't overlook. Also, I feel that people give to a good cause. And so if you can be a young person, you can be an older person, but if the cause to which you are seeking support for is not in the interest of the people that want to support you, it'll be difficult for you to get what you are looking for. I always cite this example when I think it was a flood issue in the Volta region, and then City FM stepped in to support those communities that were affected. I think at the time, City hadn't done much with regard to resource mobilization locally, but during that specific period, the number of people who were ready to give to City to support those particular communities, it was mind blowing, because it always fascinates me, and it was just a clear picture to show that people trusted City, and they knew they were going to put the monies they've received into a good cause, and so giving out whatever they had was not a problem at all. Then I would also say that sometimes institutions do not know how powerful they are until they are in that situation to ask or beg people to support a cause. You may think that, I am just in my corner doing what I know how to do best. But you may be the core person that somebody would want to look up to support. And so it is easier for people who are recognized or respected in communities to lead such cause, so that it will be easier for them to mobilize the kind of resource they are looking for. I think that in all this that we are doing, if you are able to tag young people along as well, it will be easier for them to understand what we are doing and emulate it, because we cannot do this in isolation. If we do this on our own for a very long time, you do not expect that randomly young people will also start doing that. We tag them along, make sure that they understand what we are doing. And like you're saying, if it's a culture, they should understand the culture and what we want to do with that kind of culture. And so they would be ready to emulate it even on their own at their level. So yeah, that's from my end.
Okay. That's powerful. Thank you so much. I believe the youth and this generation can also take advantage of various digital platforms, as we are in the digital generation, by exposing or just selling out what they do. I believe a lot of youthful organizations are birthing out, and they are doing marvelously well in the philanthropy space. It's just about they projecting what they are doing, their quota, and also letting the world know that they are involved or they are also together, and putting structures in place to strengthen what they do. So thank you so much for sharing that. So I would like to add a follow-up question where I want Mr. Charles to touch on. So how can look, how can youth-led initiatives attract local support and investment? So I want Mr. Charles to pick that, as we are focusing on youth. How can youth-led initiative attract local support and investment?
Thanks so much, Joanna. I just want to start before I get into that to say that I'm very excited about the young folks and what they are already doing. So I see a lot of them already designing solutions. I've met a lot of young entrepreneurs building businesses around agriculture, renewable energy, recycling, I think tech and education, right? I've seen how they are using digital platforms, mobilizing volunteers, raising funds through, digital, through very innovative ways, right? I think that our responsibility as a society is to create the conditions that will allow their ideas to flourish, right? One of the things they talk to me a lot about is access to finance, mentorship. Some of them talk about business development support, leadership opportunities. So just to say they are doing it, right? They want to do it and they want to do it their way, right? But what they need is a supportive environment, right? But to the direct question you asked me, I think one of the things I always caution young folks and especially their organizations is that you passion is beautiful, is good, it's a good, but it's not everything. That you need more than passion. What you actually need is credibility, right? People want to know what kind of governance you have, right? They want to make sure that you have strong financial management, right? If you have an initiative, you have an organization, a grouping, or whatever you may call it, clear governance system, strong financial management, because here you're talking about people supporting your social impact efforts. They want to see evidence of impact, right? Yes, activities is great, right? But they want to see an initiative that is focused on impact, and they want to see evidence of it, right? They want to see your stories, that you are able to tell your stories, and those stories are supported by data that you've collected, are supported by that evidence, right? And of course, if you are now trying to attract folks from the blended finance space, like social impact investors, those who deal with in bonds, those who are like angel investors and all these things, they ask one basic simple question, I believe. All they want to know is, what difference are you making? Right? What is the difference? What is your unique selling proposition? Why should I invest in what you're doing? Right? And I believe that whoever can answer that question, right, clearly from all the evidence that I've seen and practically the organizations that I've seen over the years, they are much more likely to attract support.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, for me, just to keep it very short, these are the things that I believe if you are running a youth-led organization, for me, yes, passion, I love passion. Passion is everything, but it will not get you to the promised land. What will get you there? Can take you far, but if you want to go further, you need to look at issues around your credibility, your integrity, governance, financial management, your impact culture. Are you telling your stories backed by your evidence? Right? Are you able to sell what is unique about what you are doing? Why are you special? Right? And I believe if you are able to do this, you are likely to get the support. And the reason is that supporters and potential financiers are also looking for credible partners. And that's what sometimes we forget. There are a lot of people out there who are looking for credible partners, credible young youth-led organizations to support and to partner with, right? So it's about positioning. It's not about necessarily you going out there and being desperate, but it's about positioning yourself, making yourself attractive for these supporters to find you, because they'll find you, because they are also looking for credible partners. Right. So thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. So, for supporters or donors, they are out there looking for credible and trusted people, youth to invest in. And it's up to the youth or the generation that we are in to position ourselves and restructure our initiatives to be able to attract these supporters. Thank you so much, Mr. Charles. So I want us to just tackle the last question so that we can wrap up within the next 20 minutes. So you touched on building trust and building credibility. So I'll just want us to talk more about how to build trust and being accountable, right, in this space. So, what measures are necessary to increase public confidence in philanthropic initiatives? So, Mr. Christian can take that, and we will all the speakers will touch on it as we wrap up with the session.
Okay. Can you hear me,
Mr.
please?
Christian, yes, please, I can.
Okay. I wanted to touch a little about the youth
The
philanthropy
youth,
component.
okay.
Yeah,
All right, just a
because
little then.
I'm also young, by the way, as you can see.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
so yeah,
You are
so
joining us.
yeah, so basically, I fully align with what Charles was indicating, that the resources are not lacking. There is more than money than someone can even phantom or think or imagine. The problem usually is trust. Money always flow where trust is established or where trust has been established, right? So rather than chasing money, people or institution or the youth will gain more in focusing about building systems that attract, or reveal that, resources are going to be well managed. Now, speaking about youth philanthropy, which is a topic on which I'm very, very passionate, Of course, not passion in the sense of, youthful exuberance, but passion in the area of I see so much potential in youth philanthropy. Number one, statistically, it has been proven that Africa is the youngest continent on earth. At least 70% of African youth, are less than 30. And it has been demonstrated by the World Bank that in the coming years, by 2050, at least 1 in 3 people globally are going to be from Africa, which means that the future of philanthropy is being built now by the youth. If there is not an intentional, please, Mrs. Joyce, Miss Joyce Mensah,
Mrs. Joyce, please mute yourself.
may that say.
Hmm.
So I was saying that because youth are the future of philanthropy in Africa, there must be an intentional focus and investment in building youth philanthropy. Number one, how do we do it? At the level of classes, at the level of the universities, how do we ensure that we have events promoting giving in those spaces? We already know how sometimes students, when they have a friend who is sick, they will come together, put their resources together and help to solve the problem, right? But I believe so much more can be done if we really want to cultivate that culture of giving with the youth. And I was very glad during the Ghana Society Forum to notice that students were actually invited on the table. But it will be great to see more and more of such events where the youth are brought on the table, to have youth giving cycle, right? To have campus philanthropic club, right? Where people come and they are talking about investment, they are talking about giving, they are talking about how to come together to solve a local or a community project, whether where their school is based or where their university is located. If we have that, then we are going to have a strong philanthropic culture. A second element, which I believe is needed, is to redefine what philanthropy means. Many youth, or in Africa mostly, still consider philanthropy as something that is reserved for the rich. So if you call yourself a philanthropist, someone may easily think that you are a millionaire and you are trying to help the poor and many of those things, right? But that's not really what philanthropy means. That's the Western thinking around philanthropy. In the African context, philanthropy is something more communal. It's more something that is, societal. It's about the community that is more at the center. And you do not necessarily need to be wealthy to give. I believe that if this mindset is being shifted at the level of the youth, then we are going to see that culture growing faster. If people realize that, oh, as far as I can give of my time, of my resources, of my talent, of my treasure, I am a philanthropist. It does not necessarily need to be money, And a last element which I want to indicate around youth and philanthropy is the fact that basically is full of possibilities. I've mentioned some of them, but the last one I would like to indicate is that it has been proven, right, that most of the events which are currently more effective in terms of advocacy or campaigning or technology oriented are mostly driven by the youth, which means that if we are able to channel the energy and the strength that the youth have together with the rise of technological platform, the cultural, landscape for giving is going to be far, far, far accelerated, and the youth are going to be the drivers of that. But the key is just to be intentional, And I'm glad that the African Youth Philanthropy Network is a platform that has already been established to channel, conversations, practice around that topic. Now, coming back to what you indicated, I should answer about how do we increase public confidence, right, in local philanthropy.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. The first element I believe is important is transparency. Where there is clarity, money flows. If I know how my money is going to be used until the pesos closeness, it increase my willingness to give more unto you. That's the reason why many organizations in the Western world, right, they have this transparency index, that are being used to indicate how CSO or INGO are able to use the resources that they are mobilizing. I know of Compass, I know of others that sometimes you see on platforms, right? Oh, we were ranked like this, we were ranked like this. If you give $10, 90% is going for the project and just 10% are being used for institutional development and things like that. When there is transparency, people will trust more the institution, right? And they will be willing to give. And this is where many CSO needs to start increasing their consistency in writing their annual report. I have a friend, Shamrit Padonu. He developed a AI tool that enables CSO to more easily, right, develop annual report, because sometimes it will be cumbersome. You can think, where do I start and all of that. But today, technology make it a bit, softer, or easier. So having consistent annual report. If I go on your website and I realize that you are reporting on what you are doing every year with a financial budget and all of those things, it increase my willingness to give to you. You need to have audited financial statement, you need project budget, and you need explain how your resources are being used. And today you don't need strong or a large team to do those things. There are a lot of people who are doing that on a regular basis on social media. As they are mobilizing the resources, they are telling the people on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, how that money is being used. And they realize that because they are doing it, more people are giving onto them, right? So transparency is no longer a compliance exercise, something that you are doing to please the donor. It is a fundraising strategy. A second element is to show your impact. Don't just talk about the activities. Show your measurable impact. Instead of saying that, oh, we have had this program, we were able of reaching out to 2,000 youth. Indicate that, oh, we were able to reach out to 2,000 youth and we secure employment opportunities for them. And out of those employment opportunities, later on, there were maybe 100 who started a business. Then you are able to move beyond the activity, which is short-term based, to expand to the medium term, those who got the job, and to the long term, those who were able to establish businesses that are now going to employ more people. A third key element to increase transparency is communication. When you don't communicate, a lot of evil can happen. People can think that, you're a scammer if they are giving you are not reporting on a regular basis. And today, AI automation can make it easier. I indicated earlier that I have a program, fundraising with AI, that I do organize. And in that program, we teach how do you automate your systems, whether it is finance, communication, operations, project management, on leveraging on AI. AI can send email for you without you checking. You just set the system, you put the instruction. AI can do so much. So the burdensome of communicating or engaging donor on a regular basis to send them photo, picture, beneficiary story, or the lesson learned can be automated with AI. And this communication will make donor more willing to come back, because the problem is not just about getting money. It's about how do you move beyond having just donor, but also retaining those donor to continually give and support your institution. And the last element which I want to share is that we need to celebrate local giving. I'm looking forward to a day that we are going to have events like, local giving awards, where we will be able to recognize and celebrate those who have given more to local community development projects. Anything that is celebrated will always multiply, because per default, men love to be loved. Men love to be recognized. Men love to be celebrated. So when you celebrate, there is an amplification, effect. I look forward to a day that we'll be having in Ghana, the annual giving day. I know we have the National Prayer Day, but what about the annual giving day, where we can celebrate those people who have sacrificially, given to bring a transformative impact, whether in their community or where they are. So those are some of the few thoughts that I have around how to increase, confidence in and boosting local giving. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. I think when it comes to celebrating local giving, it's something we do, and it's also even part of the philanthropy week, where we give awards to people in the philanthropy philanthropic space who have been doing great things. And I hope this year's own, maybe you can come down and participate. If not, you can join us virtually if that's yeah. But
Of
then
course.
I like the idea of the annual giving day being something a national thing or a local thing where people locally we are able to set a day aside people to give and looking at how generous we are we will get a lot of funding for other projects. Clear example is the Bar Stop Boys, right? So when we talk about transparency, they are able to be transparent enough that people just buy tools for them to do what they do. They are into sanitation, right? So once you are able to be transparent, once you are showing your impact, it's very easy for people to throw in their support to you. Thank you so much. So just a follow-up question, and I think Ms. Oswald can touch on that. So we open the chance for question and answer so we can wrap up. So how can organizations demonstrate transparency and impact? You can just touch on a few so we can take an answers. Ms. Oswald.
Yeah, I'm glad you used Bastard Boys as a typical example. I have had the opportunity to engage them a few times, and um, even though Charles has mentioned passion isn't enough, the passion with which he speaks about what he does alone would motivate people to join him. And so it's something we need to learn from, and also his commitment to what he does. Um, I think with what you just asked,
Yes. Was how can organizations demonstrate transparency and impact?
hello.
Yes, hear us.
Okay. For me, transparency should be easy because once you are charged to do something, you should be able to be transparent about it and be accountable to the people that supported you. Um, at the organizational level, it is easier for people to have documentation of people that support them on specific giving activities. It is also easier for you to show evidence of what you have used the funding that or the support that um, you have been given to do. It is also easier for you to actually prove that indeed this ABCD that I have done, this is what shows that I have actually done it, and not just you putting documentation together or you just showing pictures or videos of things that indicate that you have done it. You need to prove it. I would go back to Backstop Boys and use them as an example. The recent engagements I had with them, Kojo clearly mentioned that if you come around and you are coming because of maybe the support that you think they get whilst undertaking an activity, you will be sacked. So he himself has made it clear that even though there will be support, don't come because of that. He's transparent with the fact that there will be support, but that shouldn't be your intention. Otherwise, the moment you come and there is no support, you leave them and then go join another organization or another entity. And so I think he leads by example. Whatever he says is what he demonstrates on the ground. And so similarly, organizations can do same. If you are given 50,000 to implement a project, do not go and use 40,000 to brand a vehicle or to buy t-shirts or stuff like that. You should actually put a chunk of the support into what you actually requested for it. And in as much as it is given, I think someone earlier mentioned that organizations should also demonstrate what they are doing with regards to giving, to show that, of course, we are not sitting here waiting for you to come and save us, but we are also doing something in our own small way to demonstrate that we are actually interested in what we are doing. And it is only when you do that that the people who are able to support you will come to your doorstep to support, even without you going to them. And I think one of the speakers mentioned that there is money there. You only have to prove that indeed this is what you are doing and you are doing using it for a good cause. And so if organizations can prove that, or if monies are given to them, they'll be able to use it and use it well or wisely, for lack of a better word. It'll be easier for people to support, or for people who have the means to come on board. Over.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I to wrap up this house, please, would you want to add up something so that we open up for questions? So please, if you can, to kindly prepare a chat box and I'll read it. You can raise your hand and you'll be given the opportunity to ask your question. Mr. Charles.
Yeah, no, I just want to align with all the things my colleagues have said, but also just to quickly add that um, when we look at Ghana and we look at our development, just speaking to the issue of confidence, basically to depend on the confidence we have in ourselves, right? I was thinking about a couple of questions that I thought I should share with the group. First of all, do we believe our communities can solve problems? Do we believe our businesses can become development partners? Do we believe our young people deserve investment rather than simply encouragement? Do we believe philanthropy is not merely about giving, but about building the society we all want to live in, right? I think these are questions we need to reflect, because a lot of the times we want things to happen, okay, but we are not in the right mental space or mindset to make it happen. And that's why I wanted to share these 4 questions. Do we really believe in some of the things that we communicate or stand for? Do we believe our actions mirroring our thoughts that we share? So I just want to end there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think this is an individual question we all have to ask ourselves, even whilst we return to our bed. Just keep thinking about it and answer that for yourself, because I believe when it comes to the speaking and the suggestions, we bring a lot. And it's more important that even as we are trying to advocate for them, we as individuals championing it have to first believe in it before it can be manifested, right? So we all have a charge to think deeply about it, as that we believe in what we are saying before we can practice or we can emulate it. All right. Thank you so much, my able panelists. So if there's any question, kindly raise your hand and we will need to leave in the next few minutes.
Joanna, I think I would casually want to respond to Charles's questions. I would say
Okay.
yes audaciously, because I just believe it is possible. We just have to properly put structures in place to manage what we are doing. And like we have mentioned earlier, if proper structures is not in, we do not have proper structures in place, that is when transparency will be an issue, accountability will be an issue, trust will be an issue. And so when all of these ones are not things that we can find easily, then the people we need the funds from, or the people we need support from, will be nowhere to be found. So yeah, it is a yes for me, Charles, but there is a lot of work to do on all of those ones. Over.
All right, thank you so much. Please, is there any question from anyone? Hey, you have to have questions though, because there's a lot of insights we've received. So, or I should start mentioning names.
Joanna, quickly, I think what your
Yes.
outfit is doing is great. Maybe next time around, if you are able to bring on board diverse um, individuals or organizations or groups to also tap into these kinds
Okay.
of insights being shared here, then we can spread the message far and wide. Otherwise, it stays within the circles of the people um, who are closer to such information, and it's difficult spreading what we are all consuming on here.
Yes, I agree with you perfectly well. It was shared across. But one thing is we always get like-minded people to join such sessions. So what we've done is we've recorded the session and it's going to be shared across board so everyone can um, have access to it, right? Thank you for bringing that up. So in the absence of any question, I want to pick our final words and I want to say a very big thank you for the great insights. I had to be taking a lot of notes and also be rethinking about the whole team and the philanthropy space and how we were able to localize it. So I'd like to take our final words as we wrap up this session. So I'll start with Mr. Charles.
Yeah, thank you. Just to say thank you, Philanthropy Ghana, for the invitation. It's been a real privilege to be part of this conversation. I've learned a whole lot. Um, and I think this discussion is extremely important. Yes, not only for Ghana, but generally for Africa as a whole. I think for me, maybe I asked too many questions, but I think the fundamental uh, question that we probably need to ask if we are looking at Ghana is how do we finance the Ghana we want using the resources, relationships, and capabilities we already have, right? And I think today I heard some really great ideas that enable me to ask this question because this question has been on my mind. There's a Ghana we want, but we can only get there with what we have. So how do we do that? And I love this conversation because we've moved away from the usual conversation of attracting external resources. I think we focused a lot today on how to unlock resources that already exist within our own community, right? And I love the fact that we defined philanthropy in the broader sense, not just about money, but also about people investing their time, about knowledge, about networks, and influencing for the common good, right? And also about us as citizens taking ownership of our development rather than waiting for someone else to solve our problem. So kudos to Philanthropy Ghana and the other panelists for I think a lot of learning and sharing. And of course, now from now on, and it's action and aluta continua. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles. Okay, so we will hear from Miss Oswell.
Well, thank you for having me too. It was a pleasure. And for me, I think having honest conversations about these things is the way to go. Next time we'll build on it and then um, look at actionable points to work on rather than having a talk shop, so that if we come here again the next quarter, perhaps you can say that because of all the things I heard here, I have been able to mobilize 200 kids to support maybe a school or a community to do ABCD. And it is all as a result of the rich experience we've had here. So, and that's their little way to support their community. So that's the way to go for me. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So finally to Mr. Christian.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So I personally believe that we had a very beautiful and wonderful conversation. And there is one question that Charles just said, and I believe I have some thoughtful consideration which I can share. Is about how do we, build the Ghana that we want. I think we have a very wonderful example that's not far that we can look at, which is, it may be polemic, Rwanda, right? Rwanda has been proving over the years that their strategy is working. And one of the core elements of their strategy is that Kagame has been able to build strong systems. And one of the key components of the system that he has built is tax collection, tax compliance, and also public finance management. Statistically, I remember it was indicated that in Rwanda, the tax ratio to the national GDP is about 15.9%. It is the highest in East Africa and probably in the whole of Africa, because averagely in the entire African continent, the ratio to tax GPT is usually, 15 to 16%. So for Rwanda to be up to 15.9, they are actually one of the highest. In Ghana, is nationally between 13 to 14%, the tax ratio, which means that Kagame is taxing his citizens more than Ghana. So now, what if, to be able to reduce dependence on, foreign aid or grants, what if the government had to increase taxes? Now, many people, when this is being suggested, they will say, hey, why? Even what we have already is a lot to carry. What do you want to increase the burdens? But and then the question now comes in, do we trust the institution that we have? Do we trust the institutions that are currently serving the nation? Because in Rwanda, they trust those institutions and they can see the result of the tax collection system that is in place. So I believe that it will be important to, to think critically about the level of trust that we have in our institution, and also explore ways of eventually increasing tax collection, tax compliance, and how tax resources are being used. Of course, the issue of corruption and many other things will have to be dealt with. But I strongly believe that corruption is more not a people-only problem, but also a system-based, element that, if structures are in place, we'll be able to mitigate that. So my last thought as we close is that I believe that one way of moving beyond donor dependence is to adopt domestic resource mobilization, not just as a short-term agenda, but as a national strategy, and in such cases, considering the key role that taxes are playing in financing public development, Ghana Revenue Authority will not just be, a component that is being used by the Ministry of Finance, but to be seen as, a long-term strategy to mobilize resources that will be able to support national development. If the public or the government is able to take more charge, his own responsibility, and there is less dependence on aid, I believe that things will be better and many are going to benefit from that. But it's all about how are we willing to trust the existing institution, whether in the public, in the private, or in the civil society sector. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to continuing the conversation on other auspices. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, our dear speakers. I think this evening we've been soaked with knowledge and a lot of insight. We are so grateful. Thank you for making time, and thank you for speaking from your heart to us. And we've learned a lot, and it's been an inspiring, insightful session we've had together. This is going to continue till the philanthropy week. So as and when at every month there will be another one. So we'll also be doing similar ones where we can all meet there and share and discuss ideas among ourselves. I want to thank our partners, our sister NGO, African Youth Philanthropy Network, for helping with the facilitation. They've been of great help for this, and they've stayed throughout, regardless of the time. We are really grateful. Thank each and every one of you who made time to join. And I believe we've been filled. We've learned a lot from these sessions, right? And we are grateful. So have a good evening until we meet again as we prepare for the Philanthropy Ghana Week. Have a good night. Thank you. Yes, and to all our partners, Web Ghana, Ubuntu Given, AYPN, thank you so much for making time to join. Yeah, we are most grateful. Have a good night.